Government.
From Leo Varadkar's family here today, proud and happy on this big day in your and his life. And never in the history of this state has the need for a progressive head of government been more essential. The ongoing difficulties in the north, the dire consequences of Brexit, the all-persuasive continuation of corruption, the hardship borne by ordinary people because of the crisis in the health services and housing, the scandals in justice and in Garda Síochána, all demand a reforming Taoiseach to represent all the people, not just some of the people. It's a huge honour to serve as a Taoiseach, especially at 38 years of age. But not all young people are radical. Not all young people are progressive or visionary. So today the question is, what kind of leader are we getting in Leo Varadkar? I've already expressed my fear that Dr. Varadkar will drag this government even further to the right. As Minister for Social Protection, when he should have been working to protect the most vulnerable, he used his position to make their lives even harder. More recently, he spent over €200,000 of public money on a campaign which suggested that welfare fraud is rife in this state, and that has since proved to be untrue. This attitude contrasts sharply with Fine Gael's attitude to white-collar crime and corporate tax dodging. In his time as Minister for Health, Dr. Varadkar failed to tackle a crisis that leaves patients languishing on trolleys and tens of thousands more waiting months for vital treatments. He presided over a two-tier health service and the privatisation agenda, which is at the heart of government policy. Indeed, a couple of weeks ago, he claimed that the health services do not require significantly increased investment. This despite knowing that billions have been cut from the health budget since 2011. There are now 3,200 fewer nurses and midwives than there were in 2008. Services for citizens with disabilities, for other vulnerable citizens, including children, have been vandalised. Now, during the Fine Gael leadership contest, Dr. Varadkar said that Sinn Féin represents and presents the biggest threat to democracy. This is a nonsense, and he knows it. This chamber is a little theatre, Cian Cordia. It lends itself to theatrics and to play acting. Most of the media reflect this, and I don't blame them for that. The politics of the soundbite rules, and most of us can play that game. But this chamber is also a bubble, a silo detached from the lives of citizens. And sometimes the politics takes the form of cheap shots, of slander, of demonisation, playing to the lowest common denominator. And the first term of this government saw lots of that. The political discourse was cheapened and coarsened as a result. So I hope the new Taoiseach does not repeat that mistake. I think he is a decent man. I wish him well. I do not know him well, though he and I once attended the same Pilates class. We couldn't get the former Taoiseach to stretch as far as that. So this is a big day for Leo and his clan, who are rightly proud, and we wish them all well. Now, maybe he's perplexed by Sinn Féin's refusal to accept the status quo, or by our refusal to join the cosy club typified by his party's little arrangement with Fianna Fáil. Declaring that he's going to take on Sinn Féin may play well in some quarters, but it means little in the real world. Successive British governments in the old unionist regime, using extraordinary powers and cruel oppression, took on Sinn Féin for decades. They failed miserably. For most of that time, they were actively assisted by successive Irish governments, also using extraordinary powers and cruel oppression, and they also failed miserably. So maybe the Taoiseach-to-be should get to know Sinn Féin. I would commend the example of the late Albert Reynolds. He was the first Taoiseach to make the difference when the peace process needed it. When others talked the talk, Albert walked the walk. He was able to do so because he had an affinity with the North, because in many ways he was not enthralled to the system, but especially because he was new to the office. So Albert Reynolds did the right thing when the prevailing political mood and most of the media agenda was against us. Leo Varadkar also has the opportunity to do the right thing, and he could allay the fears and worries of ordinary people about what he will do in office. And I'm appealing him to do that, to turn away from the easy rhetoric of a republic of opportunity to the hard task of building a real rights-based republic with a plan to eradicate inequalities. That means turning away from the politics of austerity and cuts in favour of investment in our people and rebuilding of vital public services. It means ending poverty and disadvantage. Leo Varadkar could be a Taoiseach who sees the level of homelessness and the state of our health services, including our mental health services, and says, no more, not on my watch. He could be the Taoiseach who invests in rural Ireland. But Corgomay mar Cuspar aga, Nis far a Cohu, da Ahandina a Hogoil. An Ireland where no child calls a hotel room home. Becoming Taoiseach gives the person in the office an opportunity to do great things, like ending discrimination against women. The 8th Amendment is a relic of the past. It has to go. It must be replaced with compassion. And I'm asking you to get behind the campaign to repeal the 8th Amendment and to enact legislation. Greatness is not determined by status or power. It is determined by how well you treat those who can do nothing for you. And that involves going against the direction set by the establishment. It means tackling the crisis in housing by delivering social housing and tackling extortionate rents. It means investing in our health service to ensure that it's truly a public health service where access to treatment is solely on the basis of medical need and not on the size of your income. It means making the economy work for the citizens, not just for the market or the profit motive. It means really reforming the administration of policing and justice, and this has to start with the removal of the Garda Commissioner. The policy and the position of the political system here is very partitionist. After almost 100 years of the existence of this state, that's hardly surprising. It's also very self-serving and selfish. A visionary Taoiseach would foster a real affinity and a spirit of solidarity with the people of the North, with all sections of the people there. The Good Friday Agreement defines the relationship on this island and between these islands. A vigilant and truly patriotic Taoiseach would promote and protect that agreement against all comers, including those in Downing Street who have undermined and who are prepared to abandon this cornerstone international treaty for transient and temporary political power. A visionary Taoiseach would facilitate a referendum as soon as possible for citizens in the North and the diaspora to vote in presidential elections. He would allow Northern MPs who want to have speaking rights in the Dáil, as was agreed here in 2003. But turning the tide of an entire political agenda which has been in place since partition will take courage, vision and determination. Ta Anrawa Latsa Shakta Varadkar. You will soon have the opportunity to make a meaningful difference in the lives of people across this island who need it most. Na Kor Amu Na Hopere, Jane. You said recently that the North should stay in the customs union and the single market, and that any customs check should be in the airports and ports, not on land borders. And you also recognised the vote of the people in the North to remain part of the European Union. Designated special status for the North within the European Union is the best and only solution, and you can deliver on this crucial issue. The prospective new Taoiseach must also get behind the cause of Irish unity. That is your constitutional duty. It makes political, social and economic sense, and you should become a persuader for the ending of partition and the reunification of our country. So Sinn Féin will not be supporting this nomination, but I look forward to working with Dr. Varadkar on the basis that he is willing to take meaningful action to deal with these issues. If he is not, or if he believes that the right-wing policies currently pursued by the government have the support of the people, then he should put that belief to the test by calling a general election. Yuri and Taoiseach, a Hachta Varadkar, Bamoya Nachira, Tamith, Dairira, Fushin, Goramogov.
And Chapter Louise O'Reilly, Leatherhull.